Hello devs, welcome back. Today we are going to learn Parse Server Cloud Code. So when we have services like Parse, it provides us with client-side SDK, and most of the time we end up writing too much code on the client side, which should be on the server side. Okay, and to help us with that, Parse Server provides us cloud code where any developer who have JavaScript knowledge can create small functions to do the task from the server side rather than from the client side. And from the client side, we just have to pass the data and receive the data. And that's what Parse Server Cloud Code help us with. So let's learn. What is Cloud Code? Cloud Code is basically server-side JavaScript function that you can call from your client side to perform CRUD operations. There are three types of cloud code: cloud functions, triggers, and cloud jobs. In this video, we are going to learn cloud function and trigger because most of the time you are going to need these two things. Okay? Most of the time we need cloud function for these three reasons. When there is a large object and you just want to send few values of that, there is a function which is taking a lot of processing power, so definitely you should move that to the server side. And third, the business logic which you don't want to be exposed from the client side. Okay, so let's learn cloud functions. So first, let me show you the documentation for cloud code. Okay, let's open parsplatform.org. Scroll down and you can see cloud code. Click on guide and you can find the complete guide for cloud code here. Okay, so without wasting any time, let me go into the server folder. So it was on desktop, and let's open the code editor first. So we already configured this Parse server and connected it with the JavaScript client in the last video. If you haven't seen that video, please go and watch that video first, and this video will make sense more after that. Okay, now let's go to our client folder, which is also on the desktop. So Parse client, and let's open the code editor. Okay, my system is a little bit lagging, but it's fine. Okay, so let's open Parse dashboard. So I also shown you in the last video how we run Parse dashboard command. Okay, so if you don't install Parse dashboard on your system, you can simply do the npx. Otherwise, you can directly run if you installed Parse dashboard on your server, on your system. Okay, so I'm going to run it directly because it is already installed on my system. Okay, here's the documentation. Let's open the Parse dashboard. Localhost, okay, still I guess it's not started yet. Okay, it's started now. Cool, so it's loading. Yeah, so everything is set up. We have created these two classes last time. So again, check that video if you haven't yet. Okay, so let's arrange our windows properly. I will move back and forth between the code editor for Parse client and Parse server, so not get confused. If you got confused, just check the heading Parse server and Parse client, right? Okay, so now let's go into our folder cloud, and here you can see two files. So this is the sample code written for us to understand how you can create Parse functions and triggers. but the main file is main.js. Okay, here you have to import all those functions which you create in separate files in the cloud folder. Okay, and you can change that path from here. Okay, because this is our server configuration file. If you remember, we have changed the app id and master key from here. So now what we will do is we are going to try to run these functions first. Okay, these are the sample functions provided by Parse, and let's try those on from our client side. Okay, so if you remember how we configured, first we have to install the SDK, put it in the script, and we have created this app.js file. First initialize the server using these two parameters, and then we run all these functions. Okay, if you don't know what all these, check the last video and you will understand clearly. Okay, so let's put a comment here like run cloud client functions, because we are running this from the client SDK. Now we are going to run cloud functions, so I'm going to comment run cloud functions here, so we can separate those two things and easily understand where we are on the code. Okay, great. So now let me tell you. So parse.cloud.run to run any cloud functions from the client side. And here we have to put the function name. Okay, so what is the function name? It's hello. So let's put hello first for now. And I think it is better to create a async function. So I just go ahead and create async function first. We should not name the same. So let's call it run cloud. Just uh, a bad name I have chosen, but it's fine. It's just a demo. Okay. So let's do hello. So I'm going to call this function from the server side. To call it, I will do run cloud. Okay, so we are ready. It is going to run this function. So here we go. Okay, we are getting this. So let's see. So you can see I have created this. Means I have added json.stringify. That's why it is showing that in a string format. To get it in a object, we have to do parse. Sorry, json.parse. Okay, so let's put it in a bracket and then json dot parse and hello. So it will be parsed and we can see an object. Okay, so message hello cloud function. Cool. Now let's try this one, async function. So I will not change much, just I will change the function name. Means we are calling these function from the client side. Okay, so this is not stringified, that's why I removed the json.parse. And here hi async. It took a second because we have set timeout in this. Okay, the third one is a trigger. So we are not going to try that right now. I'm going to show you how to create a trigger later on. For now, let's work with post. Okay, so now we are going to create post from the cloud with the cloud code, because in the last video we have created post from the client side. Here we will create post from the server side. Okay, but before that, let's try to run the query and try to see what we are getting from the server side when we are querying. Okay, we created these query last time, So let's check. Okay, so right now we are getting tom1 and tom2. So just to refresh our memories, let's check the code, and we can see that we are getting the current user and we are putting this filter so we can get those specific post which is created by that particular user, right? And if I comment that, remove that filter, I'm getting all the post. Okay, even I'm not that user, I'm getting all the post. Okay, how we can secure that? I just want to get the post for the particular user and not for all the users. Okay, so let's create a cloud function for that and try to get the post for particular users. Okay, so what I will do, I will copy this first, create a function which is called parse.cloud and define, because we are creating a function here, and let's name this function maybe something like user post, but more understandable will be fetch user, because we are fetching the user post. So fetch user post is more uh, of a good name for this function. Okay, and I will paste this code. Okay, and we will get the request. We are getting the request. So req. So if you remember, we are on the server side, so we will this client side code will not work, but on server side, to get the current user, we have to do request.user. Okay, now we can uncomment this filter, so we will get the data for that particular user only. And this is a async function, so we must do async and we will get the await. Okay, and here we are looping through the data what we are getting, and let me change it to const, because I don't want to change that particular variable. And what we will do, that I will create one array, blank array, and I will push all the data what we are getting from the result into that array. Okay, and I will return that array from here. Okay, but I think it's better to send the data in stringify manner, so as actual servers do. So I will do stringify post, but you will see that we are just sending the titles, right? I want to send the complete object of the post with title, the content, and the author. So what I will do, I will create an object here, and I will say title, it will be post dot get in bracket title, same and way what we are doing in the client side for what was that field name, it is post content. Okay, so post content colon, I will say post content dot get post content, and after that author. Okay, so anyways, we are getting the author from the user request dot user on the top here. Okay, so what I will do, I will say user dot get, and we need the username, right? Okay, now that complete object will be stored in that particular array, and we are sending that array as a stringify. We will also add this id, so I will say post dot get id and the object name, because it's not id, it is object dot object id, right? Okay, uh what we will send here is an object. Okay, and let's put some more values like status successful, then result. So in result we will send the count of post we are getting. Okay, so I will say post dot length, so it will give me the number of post we have, and we are sending the post as post. Okay, so in ES6 we know that if key and value are same we can use post only. Okay, everything looks fine now. Let's send an error as well. So we have to say throw error dot message, so it is going to throw the message if there is any error. Cool. So this is our function, it's ready to execute. One more thing, we have to go and add this function in main, because as I told you, the server is going to look for main.js file which we have configured. So I will say await import. So now you can directly run await, and it is enabled in Node.js now. So you don't need async. So you might be thinking, where is async, right? So directly you can await the async calls. Okay, so that's it. Now let's our server get started. Still it is restarting. So what I will do first, I will comment this out, and now I will create a new function to run that cloud code. So I will say fetch posts, and I will create a sync function, arrow function, and I will say const posts, because we are going to get post, and await. So you already know parse.cloud.run and the function name, which is fetch user post. Okay, now I will say console.log post. Okay guys, now let's try to run this function post, and let's go to our browser. Great, we get the data, but it is stringified. So uh, let's go to client side, and let's do json.parse. So it will parse our data, and we will get the data in a object format. Okay, it should be json, not small, json dot parse. Cool. Now we are getting the data in a proper object format. Here you can see there are two posts for Tom, and result and success status. Okay, great. So let's comment this out. Now what we will do, uh, we will log out this user and log in with the other user and try to see if we are getting the data for that particular user or not. Okay, so now the Tom was login. Now let's try to log in with Jack, and Jack username and password is already provided in the login function. So we will go and just uncomment the login function and try to log in with Jack. Okay, so Jack is logged in. Let's comment this again, and now try to fetch it from the server, and it is working, and we are getting 3 posts because Jack have 3 posts. So let me try to explain this function. So we have parse.cloud.define and function name. We are getting the current user who have logged in using the request.user. Okay, and we are initializing the post class, then we are going to do a filter over here so we can find the post for that particular user. Okay, now let's go back on the client code. Now let's comment this and try to fetch it from the client side, and we are still getting all the posts, right? So what we should do to secure it? Okay, we just want the data to be fetched using that cloud code. For that, we have an option in Parse dashboard, which is security class level permissions. Here you can see the access is given to the public, so anybody can create the post or fetch the post. So I just remove that. Now if we go back to our client side, let's try to query again. Now refresh. Now you can see that we don't have permission to access that particular class. Great. Okay, now let's try this with the cloud code fetch post. Okay, and we are getting the same error, but it's not much clear. So what I will do first, I will put this in a try catch block so we can separate the error, and we can just get that particular message, error message. Okay, so you know what we have to do. It's error dot message. Okay, in message we will get the complete error, and I will just also add error comment there, which will clear that okay, this is the error message. Okay, add dot message, and let's try again, and we are getting a clear error. Permission deny for the action find on the class ports. Okay, so we have tried to do a action which is find. Okay, so in previously I told you we have a key. The who have the master key, he can access anything. So we are going to use that master key to access the data from the host class, which is don't have permission. Okay, but master key allow us to access any data even there is no permission. Okay, so we have to secure the master key always. Okay, let this server get restarted, and we will try again and try to fetch that again. Okay, great. And now, woohoo, we get the data. Awesome. Okay, so now that we are able to fetch that data, what I will do, I will try to fetch it from the client side again if that master key is working for the client side. But no, because we are using it on the cloud function. Okay, so let's try to fetch it again, and we are getting it. We are getting the data. Okay, now what I will do, I will try to log out the user and try to fetch what we are getting. Okay, I'm logged out. Now let me comment it and now try to fetch it from the cloud. And here we go. We are getting the function, but there are no posts, right? Because there is no user, and that's why it is not able to filter. But it should show some error. Okay, but it is not showing. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a condition over here that if that user is not available, not user, then I'm going to throw an error. Throw a new error. What should we say? Something like unauthorized or unauthenticated, maybe. Please log in first. Okay, that is fine. So we are asking the user to log in to get the post. Okay, so now let this server restart again. fine. Let's refresh this and try it. Cool, we are getting the error. Unauthenticated. Please log in first. Okay, so that is cool. Now I will log in and try to fetch it. Now I'm logged in, and now let's try to fetch the post again, that we are getting the data or not. Yes, we are getting. So now we have set that condition, and we will only get the data if we are logged in. Okay, and right now we just have a single way to access the post data for the particular users. Great. Now what we are going to do is we are going to create the post from the cloud side. Okay, so we will make our client side only to submit the data and get the data. We are not going to compute anything on the client side. So let's say we will pass cloud define create post, and it is going to be a async function definitely, and an arrow function. Now let's copy that code of create post, because it's same for both client side and server side. We will copy this, but again we will not getting the current user here. So to get the logged in user, we have to use request. So request dot user. Also we will need these parameters from the client side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to destructure it. Okay, so I will say I will use curly braces and request dot params. In params we get these parameters. So title, post content, and definitely author we are getting from the user here, right? So we don't need hard coded values over here. So I will say title colon title, but as you know, using ES6 we can just use title for post content as well. Okay, and we are getting our author. Okay, now we will use this object into here, try catch block. So definitely we need to return. Okay, and to return again I'm going to use json.parse, not stringify, json.stringify. And let's create an object. Let's say status equals to success, successfully created a, and let's send the post id. Okay, so I will say post id colon post dot id. Okay, so this will send the post id. It will give us a confirmation that post is created. Now let's throw an error in case if there is any error. Cool. Now I think we are done. In main we already imported this file, so we don't need to do anything here. Okay, now let's copy this and go on the client side and try to run this cloud. So let me create one async arrow function over here. So create post equals to await our arrow function, and try catch block like always. Then we will do parse.cloud.run. So run create post, and we also need to say, pass the parameters to create the post. So I will say params, right? So you know that these params we need to pass it. So I will also get the argument over here, and I will say console.log error.message like always, and let's name it create cloud post, so it will be more clear for us that this is a cloud function. Also this should be async, and we're going to use await over here. Let's say const post because it is going to create one single post, and let's console.log post, or it should be json dot stringify, no sorry, parse post, right? Okay, so I think our function is ready. Let's copy this and try to run it. And to create we need to pass the title and post content. So I will say title cloud post, cloud title post, something like that. And in post content, let's put something just to fill the data. Okay, I'm just typing something rubbish. Okay, fine. So these two parameters are required to run this function. Okay, so let's try to run it and see. No, permission deny for action created on the class post. Okay, so what action we have created on the class post? It is, so if you see, we are saving it. Okay, right? So there's the action what we are doing. But again, as we have removed the public access from the post, we are going to need that user use master key. Okay, and how we are going to pass it here? Just put a comma, and after that we are going to put that object use master key, and this key is going to give us the access to that particular class. Okay, let it restart. Done. Refresh. Woohoo, our post is created. Okay, and if we refresh over here, you can see cloud title, this post, and for that particular user. Now let's try to fetch it from the client side. Okay, let's uncomment this and go to our client, and here we go, we have 4 posts. Great. Okay, now we can see that we are sending the object ID, but that object ID is not there. So what we can do is post.id. Okay, and it should provide the object ID. Let's refresh it. So I just find that this issue and thought to fix it. Okay, now check. Yes, now we are getting the object ID. Now let's move to our last topic of this video, which is triggers. Okay, so trigger are basically used before any action like saving the data, deleting the data. Okay, we want to do something before those things, right? Uh, for example, we want to check a value before storing it if that value is validated. So a kind of validation we want to do for some particular values, so we can use that. So let's try with an example. Okay, now here what we will do, with each post we will add a rating. Okay, and that rating should be between 1 to 5. Okay, if it is less than 1 or greater than 5, then we will show an error. Okay, so let's put rating here. So we will get the rating, then we will put this in the object. So after post content, let's say rating. Okay. Now we will go on the client side. Let's comment this for now. Where is our create post? Okay, here. Now we want to create a new post, say rating. Let's say rating maybe 4. Okay. Let's try to save this post. So it is saved. Okay. Let's check. And now we can see a new column is created and its rating. Other is undefined. So let's put some rating over here also. Fill up this blank undefined fields. Okay. So just random numbers between 1 to 5. Okay, great. Now what we will do, on the server side, we'll first comment this. So this should not run again and again, otherwise it will create multiple objects. And we are going to create a file. So we are getting the rating from here. Okay, so let's create one file, name maybe post trigger. So before so basically it is for the post. Okay, and we want this action to be happened before it save that particular object. So it need to check whether that rating is between 1 to 5 or not. So we'll say parse.cloud. Before save. Okay, and again it we here we don't have to put any name, but we have to put the class name, which is post. So basically it's all the actions which are going to run on post, this will run before save. Okay, and we will get the request, and now I will just add one condition over here. Before that I will get that rating from what we are getting. So here we don't have request.params, but we have object. So basically it is getting the object which we are sending from the client side, and object.get and rating, right? Okay, now we will put the condition if rating is smaller than 1 or rating is greater than 5, then you need to show an error. So let's throw an error. Throw new error. Let's say something like invalid rating. It must be between 1 to 5. Okay, fine. So let's save this. We have to make this entry in the main.js. Otherwise, server is not going to read this file. So we need to import this into main. Okay, always remember this. Don't forget this step. Otherwise, you will keep on trying, and it's you will see it's not working, and sometimes it is confusing. When I was also new on Parse, it was confusing for me that why I'm not getting the results. Okay, so I'm going to uncomment this. Let's say 2 cloud title 2 2, and let's give a rating maybe 0. Okay, now I saved this and we are getting the error. Great. Right, now let's change this to maybe a valid rating. Okay, so I will change this some to some valid rating. It's 4, and let's see, and it is saved. So our trigger is working. That is great. Now let's try with 9 and it should give me an error. So now let's try again with 2 and it's working. Great. That's it for today, guys. Thank you so much. I hope today's tutorial will help you build your side projects within days rather than months. So try Parse. Let me know if you have any questions or doubt, and I will be there to help you. Comment your questions and please like, share, and subscribe. And I will try to bring more such tutorials in the future. Thank you so much. Have a good day.